crazy.
Let's bring in James Ham, who looks exceptionally handsome today. I can't quite put my finger on it, James, but you look. He looks great. You're listening to ESPN 1320 KIFM West Sacramento and Odyssey Station, and driven by Lashers, Elk Grove Dodge. For those listening on the radio, James is rocking his blue D-Lo and KC hoodie. And James, we appreciate you being with us.
They mean to get the memo. Sorry, we got our own group text. Outside.
We're like the screen looks like a gender reveal right now. We got a pink hoodie and 2 blue hoodies. So I guess we're having boys. I guess that's triplets. The call here. That's what it is. James, we could talk about gender reveals and triplets because all of it is better than what we watched last night.
Yeah.
Let's start with practice though. I didn't know this. Was today the first time they've practiced in like 10 days, 11 days, 12 days, something like that?
It's certainly the first time they've let media into practice. I think it's possible that they've had other practices, but again, they're in a
no one knows.
Yeah, they're in a full-blown like COVID outbreak, so they don't want us near them, and they don't want us getting sick and just sort of spreading this thing around. This was the first time, but they also they made it accessible to the media, both like normally practice is only accessible for people who are there, but they also put out a Zoom link today so we could actually like for myself, it's been hailing and snow on and off all night. So like, I don't want to be out on the road. So, and it's not because they don't want me to drive in. It's because they're worried about COVID. So they're bringing guys into the press conference room like they would during post game, but post practice, they're walking them over and doing one at a time as opposed to like a scrum setting.
Yeah. I'm all about the vibes, James, and from what you could gather from the way these guys are talking, I mean, where do you think they're at, mentally and approaching this thing? I've said all day long, if I was on that team, I'd be unbelievably embarrassed just by the performance, the perception of this team. It's clear that nobody in this league respects what you bring to the table. Memphis last night, in my opinion, said they were so pissed off at the half that it was a game. Let's turn this up. There's no reason these guys should be hanging around. They did that, and that's exactly what happened. I'd be embarrassed. How do you think the team is? These guys are feeling after what happened last night?
Yeah, I mean, I know they certainly got blown apart by Alvin Gentry. They got it. They heard it last night. They felt it, but I don't know that it matters to some of these guys, to be honest with you. I think they look at this as like a dark place. And this reminds me a lot of the 2014-15 season when they fired Michael Malone early. We went through Ty Corbin and then George Karl. And that's when Rudy Gay coined the phrase, "This is basketball hell." That's what it feels like, to be honest with you. It feels like you got a team that can't get out of its own way. Guys who, once it starts, once one guy quits on the court, it goes from one guy to the next, to the next, to the next. And I would love to sit here and tell you that it's, that there's one lone standout that it's not happening to. That's just not the case. Like, you can go back and watch the film and, the Olay defense by guys like Tyrese Halliburton and De'Aaron Fox last night, just embarrassing. Like that, it wasn't even like there was no resistance at all. So when you hear Doug say they got to feel you, or you hear Alvin Gentry say that they heard it from Luke, they heard it from Doug, now they're going to hear it from me. They have to feel you. You have to touch somebody. You have to be close to somebody the entire time. Well, I can't even imagine what the film showed last night or this morning when they all looked. It probably, you know what it looked like? It looked like sixth grade dance. That's what it looked like, where you could, fit a ruler in between, the bellies.
You don't know,
leave room for Jesus.
You don't know nothing about this, James, but this is how we do it in North Carolina.
Yeah, that's how we do it in North Carolina. That's a fantastic reference to the movie The Wood. Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm gonna Google that real quick.
Yep. Go ahead and look that one up.
No, I know. I know the movie. I don't think I've seen it, but I know the movie.
I think you like that movie. That's a good movie. It
is a good one. It is a good one. James, we've been here before. Like we've done this all already. Like Alvin, it was like a couple weeks ago that Alvin he came in apologizing to Kings fans at a press conference. Now I feel like we're about to break Alvin Gentry.
That's what I like. That's what I wrote. They broke Alvin Gentry. So when I was in high school, I played football for Nevada Union. Our coach Dave Humphers, in his infinite wisdom, decided to do a father-son camping trip, and so all of us with our dads, we went up to Tahoe, and then we woke up the next morning. He said, "Everybody up! We're gonna go climb the face of Heavenly." So Heavenly Ski Resort is straight up and down. And it's at elevation. So we're already, I don't know, 7,000 feet of elevation. And then the hill is like in front of you. So the football players, not our dads, we had to climb up the face of Heavenly, which during the summer is sand. It's nothing but sand. And every step that you take, you slide back a half a step. And sometimes every step you take, you slide back 3 steps and you're starting over again. And there got to one point where it's so steep that we found a cable on the ground and we were helping each other get up like by pulling this cable because it was almost straight up and down. We got all the way to the top and the cops were waiting to arrest us because, of course, my coach was an idiot and he did not get approval to climb the face of Heavenly. We were doing massive damage for their erosion issues that they already had. And then they made us run down like some logging trail, which was another like 4 miles after climbing all the way to the top. My point is this team feels like that. Feels like every single time.
Oh, we're just going to gloss over the fact you're a felon?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I was underage, so what are they going to do?
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what I feel like with this team. Every single time they take a step, they slide back. And sometimes it's one step, sometimes it's they go tumbling. But what I will tell you is that with my football team, I felt it. We got to a point where it was so hard and we were pushing each other up the hill. And we're basically like a game of tug of war, but we had an anchor that wouldn't let us slide down the hill anymore. And we were pushing each other up the hill in small groups. And this team does not have that. They do not have that. And us as high school football players, we did. And so whatever that is, they got to find it because right now they look like a really nice collection of pieces that do not fit together at all and cannot play together at all. And that's the most embarrassing thing. I mean, there's so much blame to go around, but this isn't new. Like what you talked about, this problem has been plaguing this team for the last 30 something games. I mean, it's been plaguing them for the last couple of seasons, but the last 30 something games, like the time to make a trade, it's almost too late now. Now it's like, okay, who gets stuck? What do we get for Harrison Barnes? What you're going to start collecting assets for some other move that, to be honest with you, someone else is going to make. Because if this is who you are and this is what you are as a franchise, and that goes for every single one of them, if you're an inactive general manager, well, you're not going to have a job. That's not, because we all know they're going to be doing a coaching search this summer. And we all know that you don't want to mix, have a GM, that might not be there long term. So, like, look, you make changes now, or, what is it? GTFO.
Yeah. So
that's it.
That's it. Yeah.
To that point, what the hell is going on? I mean, I was on these airways speaking to you, speaking to Damian. When did Luke get fired? 3-4 weeks ago, saying the team is dying. And we're sitting here doing it. This was 4 weeks ago, and nothing has happened. So what the hell is going on with Monty McNair, this team? I know it takes 2 to tango and all this other stuff. I said it earlier. I know you wouldn't be necessarily winning the deal, but I'm a big believer right now in some of the stuff. Moving on for some of these guys is addition by subtraction, and like even if you're taking less than what you think the value is. You can't keep running these guys out here. This was 4 weeks ago we were talking about this. What's going on?
Yeah, I fully agree with you. I think number one, the first thing you said, it takes two to tango. Like you got to have somebody else who wants, one man's trash is another man's treasure.
Mm.
Well, I think some people, look and say, okay, one man's trash is another man's trash, and so we're not going to take that. I think the other problem is you have this mystical big deal that could materialize at any time, and in order to make a big deal, you have to have salary spots in order to make that trade. You have to have a $20 million a year player and a $10 million a year player to acquire a $32 million a year player.
Mm.
So you have to have the ingredients to make a trade. So I think a lot of people are just waiting. They're waiting for one shoe to drop. And then once it does, then it's on. But, in the meantime, we're trudging through like COVID hell. Like every team is just getting gutted. And for that, like I just asked Tyrese Halliburton, they're going up against Oklahoma City Thunder, who just like as they were coming into the media room, lost 3 players to health and safety protocol, which means game on. How many more are they going to lose in the next 3 days?
Mm.
Right? We've been down this train. Well, like if I'm a player at this point and I'm not one of the like 7 players for the Kings out of 17 have already had COVID, right? So they still have 10 guys who haven't. Do you want to go up against Oklahoma City Thunder tomorrow? Because this is just outbreak number 1. Outbreak number 2 is like what, Friday, Saturday, Sunday? Like that's where we're heading now. And so I asked Halliburton, would you wear a mask on the court? Oh, hell no. Like, no way. I'm not wearing a mask on the court. So like, look, I think the COVID situation is totally muddied the water of anything that could happen like league wide. I mean, there were supposed to be basically the equivalent of like the baseball's winter meetings centered around the G League showcase.
Mm-hmm.
And the G League showcase basically became like a used car lot.
Mm.
Like guys are just getting signed left and right. So yeah, it's a mess. I don't know. I don't know if they'll even make a deal at this point, because again, you want to sit there and not do anything for a long time. And we're not talking about like a month or two. We're talking about 18 months at this point, like 15 months. Like what are you going to do now?
We'll come back. We'll talk more with 1320 Kings insider James Ham as we continue. We'll go commercial free till the top of the 4 o'clock hour. We'll give you an update on our poll question over on youtube.com/ESPN 1320. What's the current mood of Kings fans? The results have shifted a little bit. We'll reveal them next here on this 49ers Monday, brought to you by Gilmore Heating, Air, and Plumbing. Right now, Gilmore is offering Niner fans a $49 furnace safety inspection. Just mention this ad. You get more with Gilmore on ESPN 1320. Clear.
Ramsey, I don't know exactly what happened, but if you did block Bagley, don't unblock him. Like it wasn't a block full enough. He's talking crazy, but he ain't calling nobody out of their name.
He always talks crazy. Yeah, Bagley been crazy. He's just the one we accept.
Bagley, he's been on this crusade today, though, talking about why aren't we talking about how bad Harrison Barnes has been, or we always talk about. He's on this crusade about Harrison Barnes, and I know for me personally, Harrison Barnes hasn't been great, and he hasn't been what he was at the beginning of the season. But if he's this is Harrison Barnes. Like he's at like 14, 15 points a game or something like that. It's who he is. That's who he's always been. So to sit up here and get mad at him because he's not averaging 22 anymore, that don't make no sense. That's not 22 isn't ever who he was. He was playing great, but it's not who he is.
I mean, he's still at 17 points a game. And he's still shooting 40% from 3 and 45% from the field, and averaging 2.5 assists, 6.4 rebounds. He's certainly I think the biggest issue that you're going to come across with Harrison last night in particular was he had one of the worst plus minuses I've ever seen. And I'm not sure that I blame him for that. Like a plus minus, a lot goes into a plus minus, but he ran like a negative 36 or something yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Negative 36, negative 24, negative 20. That's his last 3 games. but the Kings were blown out. So somebody got to take the L, and apparently it's Harrison Barnes. So yeah, and he really hasn't been that bad. I'm like, in comparison. Some of my issue, like I watched quite a few times last night. He was switching onto the roll man in the key when the King showed up high, and then his man was left open on the left elbow, and it was, I don't know how many shots they got from the left elbow, but it was embarrassing. Like Desmond Main just like basically made his living at just like standing in one spot. I mean, I think there was like a burn mark where he was just standing there.
Why do they play? We're talking about multiple coaches, multiple defensive coordinators. Why do they play the same type of defense for the last 2-3 years? And I'm talking about like the first thing that comes to my mind is like pick and roll. Like, are you talking about like what they do on the pick and roll seems to be the same thing. Multiple coaches, multiple schemes or anything like that. I don't know why we keep seeing that.
Yeah, I don't know either. Because to be honest with you, I actually brought it up to somebody inside because I don't understand. I don't understand why Steven Adams is allowed to clean De'Aaron Fox again and again and again, and his man is standing 8 feet away in the key. So now you got a guard running downhill at a big man who's not a shot blocker. So what kind of like just basic game plan is that? To me, it doesn't make any sense. And like I sat through a clinic one time with NBA coaches, and they were saying that the nail for the it's called where you set the nail, right, for the pick and roll. That the nail in the NBA at this point is probably a step above the free throw line. It's in the circle between the free throw line and the 3-point line.
Yeah.
And that's not what the Kings are doing. The Kings are setting the nail the dude's almost in the circle, like down underneath the basket. Like, what are you doing down there? Like, you're going to get, number one, you're going to get a legal defense call. But we keep hearing these things that, the Kings guards are so bad defensively. De'Aaron Fox is so bad defensively. Like, I don't know. None of us could get through Steven Adams on a screen. I mean, Steven Adams' chest is like 18 inches thick. Like, he's the strongest man in the NBA with no questions asked. And they're just letting him set screens all the way out on top. And they're not hedging the big to make the opposing guard go up and around your own big and to slow down the play. And so your guard can recover and come back under. They're not doing that. So you're just letting guys either, take 2 steps over from the massive pick they're getting and shoot a 3 at the top of the key, or just run straight downhill on your guards.
Hang on, guys. We're coming back right here. Hang on. 1320 Kings insider James Ham with us here, and of course the creator of the Kings Beat. You should all become subscribers of the Kings Beat, both the newsletter and the fantastic podcast with both James and Sean Cunningham. We posted the question over on youtube.com/ESPN1320. What's your current mood, Kings fans? Well, the mood is shifted a little bit, with 40% saying apathy, 17% saying anger. Now 43% of voters 3+ hours into the show saying frustration. So that's good. That's what we talked about earlier. There are people who feel like they're falling into that, oh, I just don't care about this team anymore. They're so bad. I'm frustrated. I don't care about them. Yes, you do. You're just frustrated with them. You're really, and it's okay. Like, it's okay to still care and be angry. It's okay to be let down over and over and over again by your sports team. Truthfully, you wouldn't be a Kings fan if you weren't let down over and over and over again. And that's where we are, Hammer.
It's where we are.
Constant frustration with this group. And it's not just I don't know, you're going against a team like Memphis, who was struggling a little bit with John Morant coming back. I had I feel like I had fair expectations for De'Aaron Fox returning, and I expected something a little bit different from Rashawn Holmes, which we'll talk about, and Terence Davis and Marvin Bagley and these guys coming back. I think the constant frustration is, though, these guys not being competitive. It's like they just go out there, and you said this earlier, one guy quits and all of a sudden 7 guys quit. And now all of a sudden you're just watching your team get their teeth kicked in for 24 minutes.
Yeah, I think the strangest thing is, how do you play a team to a 50-49 advantage in the first half and then just get clubbed in the second? Like
Yeah.
that, because the problem is you showed you could do it. So one team makes adjustments and the other one just stops playing. That's the crazy thing to me. It's just that they have, like, how, if you're Alvin Gentry or Doug Christie or Luke Walton or anyone else that will coach this team, like, it's almost like you have to take a timeout 3 minutes into the third quarter just
Mhm.
to make sure you're not down by double digits already, even though you had a halftime lead. And it's just, whatever they're doing, however they're coming out of halftime, I just don't understand it. Like, this team gets punched, and every once in a while they're the team that punches. Well, you can see in the NBA, whoever punches first in the third quarter is usually the team that wins the game. And the Kings, A, don't punch, and B, cannot take a punch at all.
Glass
Eh,
jaw.
yeah, I mean, you're just watching guys go down, just like, I can't believe, let's just go back to the Mo Harkless Buddy Hield situation. Again, I ran the tape back and I watched very specifically on the play that really got under Mo Harkless's skin, where Buddy Hield did not. He ran out and flew by a 3-point shooter and gave a straight line drive to the basket to Lonnie Walker, right on
Mhm.
on the Spurs. Well, that happened like 14 times in the third quarter. And who is yelling and screaming at Halliburton, Fox,
Mhm.
Harrison Barnes? Name that king that was doing the same exact thing. I mean, Terence Davis, you expect it. That's who Terence Davis is. He plays. He's the windshield wiper. We've talked about this. He just flies by and flies by, and I mean, he plays with that energy and excitement, but sometimes it gets him in trouble. But the rest of the team did the same thing.
Mhm.
And so, where's the accountability? And where's if you're going to yell at Buddy for doing it, you sure as heck should yell at all the other guys for doing it. It's the
Yeah.
same exact thing. So yeah, it's tough. And the other thing I'll point out, someone just asked, where was Marvin last night? These guys haven't played in 10 plus days. So you can't expect Fox to walk out on the court and be Fox that he was 2 weeks ago. That's just not the way it works. And Marvin Bagley told us today that he struggled with symptoms for 2 or 3 days. It wasn't horrible, but then he got better. But he still feels like getting his win back isn't easy. So I mean, look, these guys had a virus. They were sick, and sometimes that means that they need time to work themselves back in shape. But also, when this specific virus, they don't let you in the practice facility anymore. So
Mhm.
once you're out, you're out, and nobody wants to touch you. We talked about the cheese touch. You got the cheese touch. No one wants to be around you, and that's the way this goes. So there is no, like, keeping in game shape and just jumping right back in and being your normal self. So, like, when you get this huge influx of players coming back, like, sometimes you're gonna be like, hey, I kind of wish that we let Emmanuel Mudiay play a few more minutes or
Mhm.
play at all in the first half, and and try to get yourself something different that you're not seeing, because these guys just, they're not in game shape yet.
We talk about how the Kings can't take a punch and they got a glass jaw. Our guy PJ in the chat says the rope a dope isn't working. Rope a dope ain't working. Go to plan B. So there's that. But you bring up a great point, and it leads into something else I wanted to talk to you about. We wanted to talk to you about is Mo Harkless, Buddy Hield, accountability on defensive lapses, offensive lapses, whatever the case may be. You were there. You heard what Terence Davis had to say after the game and talking about leaders and saying that we have leaders in here, but we're missing vocal leadership. Do you understand? Because he's like, I don't know if you guys understand what I'm saying. Do you understand what he was trying to say? And what did you take from that comment by Terence Davis?
Yeah, he said we have leaders, but we don't have that leader's voice.
Leaders.
Which I thought that was interesting, because basically what he's saying, in my opinion, what he's saying is, we don't have that one guy that leads us into battle, and it is, we don't have William Wallace. We don't have the dude who's screaming and going nuts. We don't have that guy.
Mhm.
And again, a lot of teams don't have that guy. A lot of teams don't need that guy. This team, for some reason, it seems like they do. And I mean, it's a very specific question that he was asked about leadership and all that stuff. And we're always like this specific conversation always comes back to De'Aaron Fox for some reason. And I will just keep saying that De'Aaron Fox he just turned 24 a couple of days ago. On what was it, on December 20th, when Sean Cunningham had his birthday.
Mhm.
Um, well, there's
Also Sean Cunningham's 24th birthday.
Yeah, exactly. There are 28, 27, 28, 29-year-old men on this team who have been on championship teams or really, really good playoff teams. Quite a few of them at this point. Where are they? We want to point at Fox, but Buddy Hield isn't a leader. And,
No, he's not.
No. And I mean, Harrison Barnes, like, where's the leadership? Mo Harkless showed it, but where's that on a game? And Tristan Thompson, but now he's not playing all the time. And so, like, you want there to be that leader, but again, I think Halliburton will develop and might be one of those leaders, but you can't be a leader who gives up 6 blow-bys.
Mhm.
You can't, because then you lose your credibility. And so, yeah, like, you guys flashed 160 million. That doesn't mean anything. That just means he's your best player. I mean, we look around the league,
It means he's your highest paid player.
exactly.
Not even, yeah,
I mean, look at the guy down for the Clippers that takes every other season off, and sure, he's great, but he doesn't say a word. He's still some sort of leader, I guess.
Well,
But
the thing about that though is, and I'm assuming you're talking about Kawhi.
yeah,
Kawhi, and I agree with you with what you're saying about De'Aaron, but they brought up Kawhi earlier. Kawhi, when Kawhi plays, he's the MVP candidate. He don't have to say a damn thing. Like, he's doing his talking on the court. He's 25 a night, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and one of the best defenders in the game. Like, you don't have to say a word when you're doing that. That's not what's going on here.
I get that, but he also literally just decides not to play.
That's not true. I don't agree.
Well,
I don't think that's true.
What's that? Well, right now he's hurt. Right now he's hurt, without any question. But like, that hasn't always been the case.
I don't think that's fair. I think the categorization of what happened that last year in San Antonio is unfair. But that's not the point. De'Aaron Fox is the point. And I wonder, like, you talk about all eyes go to De'Aaron Fox, and it makes me think something I was talking to Casey and Jesse about earlier. And that's when Luke Walton, like, repeatedly over and over, the head of the snake, 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 like, De'Aaron is the guy. Was he saying that for De'Aaron's own benefit? Like, because, Luke is like he's a product of the Zen master. Like, his dad has a unique personality, and they're very big into speaking things into existence. Was he trying to speak that into existence for the benefit of De'Aaron Fox?
No. Well, I mean, maybe it's like positive affirmation. Maybe you might be onto something there, but that was Dave Yeager's title as well. Like, he called De'Aaron Fox the same thing. And you know what it is if you're the head coach of the team, number one, you're behind the scenes, you know who your best player is. There's no question. Mm-hmm. Like, there is no question behind the scenes who the Kings' best player is. Like, don't let these crazy, ridiculously stupid polls where someone's crowdsourcing fool anybody. The best player on the team is one person, and they all know it, and they're waiting for him to ascend, and it's not happening. And so at this point, it's not happening. Last season, it took a long time. And then once he did, he was incredible. But then he got sick and he missed a bunch of time at the end of the season. And you ran out of time. He couldn't get back to help you get to the playoffs. But I think it's because when you have the guy and you see how talented he is, you're just trying to do everything to make sure he understands that wherever you go as a basketball player, we will follow. We're we're only going as far as you can take us.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem. And
Mm-hmm.
right now, that's, again, coming back off of COVID, that's not good. But before that, he had strung together a bunch of games where all of a sudden he was really good again. And so, I don't think we can keep it all on him. I think he quietly tries to lead. And then I think the other mistake is when you get blown out, you want your leader, your quote unquote leaders to like have accountability and speak to the media. Well, putting De'Aaron Fox out there when he literally has got nothing, that's just the worst because it's doing him a disservice. It's making him look really bad. And while I understand the intent behind it, like you got one guy who literally says he won't come out because every time he comes out, he has a bad game afterwards. So he doesn't want to come out and talk. And then you have Harrison Barnes come out and say, yeah, well, I come out every time there, something horrible happens and we get clubbed. It's like, well, that's not true either because you would be out here a lot more if that's the case because you guys get your
He
butt
wasn't out
kicked.
there last night.
Yeah, you get your butts kicked all the time. And then when things go really bad, it's Tristan Thompson's time to go wax poetically for a half hour and make everyone forget what happened. And he says a bunch of curse words, so at least we have something that goes viral. It's a distractionary tool. That's what they're doing. They're like, hey, shiny object, this is Tristan Thompson. Go say a bunch of F words. And all right, on to the next game. Let's hopefully we don't lose this bad again. So like there are all these things that happen. But when it's bad like this, it's always Fox, and most of the time he isn't good with the media. In this, like last night, I didn't even post a video. It was so bad, like there was no value to it. So
2
why
minutes
waste
and 12
my time?
seconds.
Yeah, why waste the time editing it? Why waste the time cutting it down? I mean, especially you got a coach who's just literally steamrolling his entire team, throwing them under the bus, and telling you that he's never seen anything so bad in 34 years as a head coach. I mean, like that's not what we got from the players. I mean, you put Terence Davis out there to talk about how good he did. That's what the plan was. He had a good game coming back from COVID, and again, and then he gets asked hard questions and he doesn't know how to answer them, and we end up with this situation where he starts talking about how they don't have they have leaders, but they don't have a leader's voice.
I like what Terence had to say.
Me too.
Like I thought he spoke truthfully. He's not a dummy or nothing like that, but he's not like a poetic like Tyrese or Tristan.
He's not that eloquent.
But what he said was very real. Like I felt what he was saying. And it wasn't when he talks about somebody asked earlier, was he taking a shot at something? I didn't think anything about that was about taking a shot. He just kind of assessed what he saw in that locker room and spoke on it honestly. I thought Terence, I heard 2 clips from him and I liked them both. That one and when he talked about, it's kind of hard because you don't know if you're playing from game to game. That quote as well, I like from Terence.
Yeah, and again, Terence Davis was playing really, really well before he got sick. And I've said this a bunch of times. Terence, he's a mistake player, right? He plays by the seat of his pants, but you need his fire and his energy. Like I love it. He plays with physicality and passion. He can play make. To me, he does a lot of good when he's on the court. When he's missing shots, it can be a holy disaster. I get that. But what I can't have is 2 mistake players on the court at the same time. So either Buddy Hield or Terence Davis, either one of them can't play night in and night out, or one of them has to start and one of them has to come off the bench. Mm-hmm. I just don't think you can live with the amount of, and again, it's not just turnovers. That's people always think, oh, you're talking about turnovers or missed shots. It's not that. Mm-hmm. It's everything else. It's the missed assignments. It's the blown coverages. It's stepping out of an offensive play set and just blowing up the play set and not doing what you're supposed to do. So then that way everyone is out of position when a ball goes up. No one is in rebounding position. Nobody is looking for, like, it's just a mess. And so these mistakes, those types of players, like, they can really help you in the right situation. And you have to find the right situation for both of those guys. And again, I thought the Kings were playing really well for a stretch with Terence Davis starting it at the 3. So yeah, and I didn't have any problems with what he said either. I just think that, like, that's probably not Terence Davis just coming off of COVID. Like there's no reason why he's sitting there in that seat in that moment when you just got your teeth kicked in, and he's going to have to field tough questions. He didn't do anything wrong. He's, trying his best and played, I think, more minutes than almost anyone that was coming back off the COVID list. And I thought he played okay.
I want to get back to that, but Jimmy Garoppolo suffered a right thumb UCL tear.
Oh my!
Along with a fracture.
Oh, damn.
That's according to Adam Schefter. Ian Rappaport reported the same thing. He's doubtful for this weekend, but he's going to try to gut it out somehow. He'll be reevaluated on Wednesday. There is no chance Jimmy Garoppolo is playing.
I appreciate that, Jimmy. Think about your future here. Okay, no need to rush back out there.
Did it happen before or after the use check throw?
After.
Yeah.
Was it after? Are you sure? When did
the man that everybody thinks it is late in the second quarter? That used to, it was either late first or early second.
Yeah, that's bad.
Tough.
And now you got Trey Lance, who hasn't had any snaps at all. Like
Trey Lance,
who's your third quarterback? Because he's probably the next guy up.
He's about to be a hero.
Trey Lance, he got a preseason game coming up, and I don't mean that it is any disrespect. I know they won yesterday, but look, if you got Trey Lance out there with no snaps and you can't beat the Texans, well, the hell with you. 49ers, like Trey Lance is getting an exhibition game on Sunday. This is a great spot. He may get 2 if everything goes the way we plan, or we hope it goes for the Rams in week 18.
There's no way that week 18 game is going to be a walk for you. There's no way. Something's going to happen. Something's going to happen this weekend. It's just not going to happen.
I got you.
Yeah, something's going to happen. There's no way that game's going to be a walk for you.
Well, throw him into the fire, damn it. That's what everybody.
It looks like he's going to have to. We're talking about Jimmy Garoppolo going to gut it out. Kyle Shanahan's already like, no, he's not. He's not going to gut it out. He's already on the phone with Trey getting him ready.
Go back to the hood.
Back to the Kings.
Back to the Kings. Back to better news.
Let's go from Jimmy Garoppolo's torn up thumb to what point was Buddy Hield trying to make yesterday?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
I mean, he took 3 shots. He
there's
2 points.
That wasn't an accident. Like he was he had to have been trying to make some sort of point yesterday.
The funny thing is, you forgot he was in the game.
Oh, for sure.
So I don't even know if there was a point where he passed up shots. I think it's very possible he was just left out, and be that Fox, be that Halliburton, whatever it was, or they left a man on him and he just didn't move. That's possible. But I was shocked too. And I mean, there were specific moments where I just I wanted to fold up my MacBook Air and see if I could actually hit Tyrese Halliburton from my media seat, just fling it like a disc golf and just whack, shoot the ball.
Mm-hmm.
You're wide open. You got the ball. Don't panic. Don't do anything else. Line it up and shoot it. I don't want to see anything other than just release the ball. You're the best 3-point shooter on the team. Buddy Hield's not the best 3-point shooter. He's the highest volume 3-point shooter. You're the best 3-point shooter. Shoot the ball. And so I don't know what the deal was. Halliburton should have had 28 points and that would have helped his team and they would have been in a better position to win the game. But he at one point I tweeted out, just shoot the ball.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I think Buddy may have been trying to prove some point, but I don't know to who.
Who knows what happened after this game, and we kind of I don't know if anything happened at all. It might have just been him just not doing anything. Could have been the players not, just didn't look for him naturally, not because they're proving a point. But we forget about it because Christmas came and took over, and then the Niners played on Thursday. But Wednesday was a monstrosity from Buddy. I mean, it was unbelievably, my eyes were bleeding watching him. What do you know, 2 of 17 from the field?
Yeah, It was at least that.
I thought he took 18 threes, but that could be wrong. That could absolutely be wrong.
I've already got it.
If only there was a box score.
Yeah, let's see. Oh yeah, Buddy Hield. 5 of 22 from the field, 5 of 18 from 3. So he didn't hit. He missed all 4 of his other shots that were inside the key. He played 43 minutes, and I was like, why?
And look, he had to have gotten 3 or 4 of them field goals with under 5 minutes to go in that fourth quarter, because there was a good stretch of time when I was looking at like 2 of 15 from the field.
Oh.
I asked Doug about it. I asked Doug about it in postgame. That's how I opened postgame. What in the world was happening? Like he started, I think 0 for 9. Then he hit 1 shot in the first half and finished 1 of 10 in the first half.
Right.
Then you get to the second half and he was super quiet. Then he blows up and he scores. He hits all 5 of his threes, I believe, in 4 of the 5 threes in 1 in the late third and 3 in the early fourth. And everyone's like, oh, he's back. He's back. Then he missed, I think,
he's back.
5 straight shots to end the game and shot you out of the game. And I know, like Doug said, that he's the best shooter on the court. And it's just, how many coaches does he have to fool? And like, I get into discussions every day about this, people inside. He's out there specifically to stretch his, it's the fear of Buddy Hield. It's the fear of Buddy Hield. And it's like, but
only people that fear Buddy Hield are Kings fans.
Damn it, James and Davian, they're 13 and 21. It doesn't work. Stop with the nationalization these people come up with.
I don't know how many shots they took that night, but I could probably tell you they took a total of 85 shots. He took 22.
Oh
he took 25% of those shots, and he shot 22%. So he missed. We're not even dealing with a straight 100 shots here. So at a minimum, let's see, I just doing quick. He missed 17 shots out of 85. Like, he dropped your overall field goal percentage by at least 19%.
That's
like,
impressive.
How do you win? You shoot 40% from the field. That's why you lose that game. You shoot 40%, and the Clippers shot 51.2%. That's how you lost the game. You lost the game because you could not hit any baskets, and 17 of those misses came off the hand of Buddy Hield. So you're literally looking at like 20 or 22%. He changed your field goal percentage on the night.
And they were a lot of wide open looks. And look, in that particular game, they were still without half the roster. So I meant it when I said it. Yeah. Look, buddy, put them up. Like, they need you to shoot if you're going to win. But the facts are the facts. Just like I say the other day, Jimmy Garoppolo threw 2 interceptions with only 2 interceptions of the game. That cost the 49ers. Buddy Hield, you couldn't hit the broadside of the barn on Wednesday. That's what cost them the game. Just is what it is.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this, like someone just said, buddy scapegoat. That's not a scapegoat moment. Like, they had no chance to win that game because one player missed 17 shots. That's just that. It is what it is. And this isn't a good rebounding team, so it's not like you're getting any of those offensive rebounds. And when he does miss, he doesn't get back in transition and gets beat down the floor. Against the Clippers, he got beat down the floor by big men again and again, and for wide open looks. And so, like, there's this, they're almost live ball turnovers. That's his 3-point misses at a certain point because no one is getting back. And like, I just don't like, where does someone get a green light like that? Because that just cannot be it. You can't let somebody shoot you out of a game in an entire half and then expect something different. And then he has 1 quarter where he heats up every game. That's not enough. It's just not enough. So anyway, I sit here and get in arguments about the fear of Buddy Hield. And like, I have an innate fear of Buddy Hield.
I'm scared. Me too.
Yeah.
I'm scared of Buddy.
And it has nothing to do with whether I think De'Aaron Fox is going to be able to get to the basket because Buddy Hield's out there. I'm just sitting there waiting for the Kings to lose. I'm prepping another game recap that's a losing game recap. So
this is a weird question. Is there Alvin versus DC thing in the locker room?
Action.
No.
No, I was just asking. I
No,
don't know.
but that's like,
I mean,
I
they
mean,
got their
Buttons.
butt kicked under Doug. They got their butt kicked under Alvin. I don't know.
Yeah.
And maybe that's tied in. Maybe that's tied into the Buddy Hield thing where like Alvin's back, Buddy's on strike. I'm not sure. I just wouldn't.
No,
It'd
it
be very
was
Kinsey.
asked. It was asked today in the media session, and like,
Oh,
you're gonna ask that question. I just like, I don't even know what to say.
okay.
Like, you're gonna ask Tyrese Halliburton, basically who you prefer to play for. Like, actually, I think it was phrased "good cop, bad cop." I'm like,
I definitely don't think Alvin's a bad cop.
No, none of
yeah, and it definitely wasn't me who asked that question. So like, I'll leave it out there. Like, you guys can listen to the it is what it is. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand how you ask that question. I mean, that's you're putting a young player in a position where, like, what's he supposed to say? Like, no. Like,
yeah, what is he supposed to say? I don't really understand. I mean, is that a trick question? I don't really know. What did Terence say yesterday at the beginning? Do we have that?
Yeah, we got it. Probably. I'm over here sleep on the wheel. Let me figure out what clip it is. Nope, this is just going really, really smoothly. I believe it's this one.
Honestly, I don't know. Is that a trick question? Like,
that might be a new drop. We might have to save this one.
Honestly, I don't know. Is that a trick question? Like,
that's good stuff right there from
yeah.
Like that. Hey James, before we get out of here, I want to get your opinion on something and what you see. Back to De'Aaron Fox, because I mean, all things go through De'Aaron right now. It's just fair or not. That's just kind of what it is. And I mentioned earlier in the show, I feel like De'Aaron is not the same player on the court with his mentality, with how he approaches the game, that he was his 1 year in Kentucky, the first 2.5 seasons in the NBA. We talk about a dunk like he had last night, which is phenomenal. First of all, it happens once in a blue moon. Second of all, remember the Fox who, when Vucevic would try to dunk with him, he'd get at technicals. He said, "Don't you jump. You know what's coming. I'm coming for your head." Like, he dunks last night, which was phenomenal, and just kind of goes back down court. To me, there is a difference in mannerisms in the way he attacks the game from, like I said, Kentucky and his first 2.5 seasons in the NBA to the way that he goes about a game now. You've seen him through all of this. Is there any difference to you, or is it just, something that's in our heads?
No, I mean, okay. So first of all, when he came into the league, he's 19 years old. When he's playing at Kentucky, he's 18 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll point out that he was a young man. He was actually more than a young man, more like a really, really young man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he's a teenager. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
He's a grown man now. He's got a fiance. He's got a little boy. He's not a baby anymore. So I think you lose some of that. And I'll say this too, like, people right now, like, you'll see it, like, when I talk with you guys, or I talk on the podcast, or the way that I write, they're like, "Hey, you seem way different than you were the last, like, 6 years for NBC."
Mm-hmm.
And my answer is, I'm no different at all. I'm not a different person at all. The difference is, I'm not writing 500 stories a year, 500 plus stories a year, which I did for years for NBC.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no, like, you're afraid. There's no, like, creative thinking left when you're just churning and churning and churning and churning and churning. You're so worn to a nub that it's hard to write something that's super creative or out of the box. And like, I feel like I'm still the same person, but I'm a lot more, like, I'm free now because I can write whatever I want, not because someone was telling me not to write it, but because I own something that's mine, and I can write whatever I want, whenever I want. And what I will not do is write 500 stories ever again for anyone, because that's not any way to be a beat writer. It just kills you. Like, you get to an end of the season and you're 15 pounds overweight. I have a herniated disc and a bulging disc in my back from sitting too much, because all I do is sit and write. And you have a brain cloud. You can't even think when you're done with that. And so I'll relay it back to De'Aaron Fox. Getting your teeth kicked in 50 times a year does not feel good and is not conducive to becoming a winner somewhere down the road. There could come a point where he's not here and he goes somewhere else, and everyone goes, "Oh, look, he's back." Yeah, because the weight of the world just got lifted off of him. He doesn't feel like someone's got their thumb pushing down on top of his head as hard as they can for 82 games a year. So you hope that can be here. You hope that he can have that liberating moment here and become a winner here, because somehow they make some trade that makes everything magically better. And then De'Aaron Fox just goes, "Whew, I got the help I needed. That's what I needed. And I feel better. And now I'm ready to roll. And now I'm going to be a star." But it's very likely that won't happen, that they can't ever pull that off, and that the losing will take a little bit more and a little bit more of his soul until there's not enough there to make the rest of the people happy. And then he'll walk away and he'll go somewhere else. And he probably, whether he's going to be great there or not is now in question. So, like, again, I think the weight of the world has been on him for a couple of years now. He feels it. Now he's making a lot of money and people blame that. We have these people in here that go, "Oh, he makes $160 million. He was offered $164 million from the Sacramento Kings. You'd be a fool not to just sign on the dotted line. They gave you the money because you played well enough and you deserved it. You earned every penny. In my book, it is what it is. From that moment on, it's just a number, and it's out there. Like, it doesn't come with extra strings. You hope that he continues to improve and he's at least as good as he was last year. Sometimes he's not going to be, but I think just the weight of the world is weighing him down. The weight of losing, of coming into Sacramento and saying that you can be the guy who gets them to the playoffs, which same thing happened to DeMarcus Cousins. Same thing happened to every Kings draft pick. It's hard. It's hard. It wears you out. Writing 50 losing game recaps a year wears you out. And that's my career for 12 years. So it's not easy. And so
imagine playing in those losing games.
Yeah. You have some, like, again, apathy. We talk about apathy, but you have to have some empathy as well. Like, this isn't a fun situation. Like, I'm not rooting for the Sacramento Kings, but I sure do hope that somewhere along the way they do win, because that would be fun. It would be fun to cover that. And so I don't know. Maybe it will happen. Maybe it won't. But again, that's why sometimes I guess maybe I'm a little too light on De'Aaron Fox. But it's because I feel the weight that he does sometimes. And that's hard.
Well, it's an interesting stretch of games coming up with Oklahoma City tomorrow, Dallas on Wednesday, and then Dallas again for the New Year's Eve matinee on Friday. James, we appreciate you as always. Make sure you subscribe to the Kings Beat wherever you get podcasts from, Apple, Spotify, Google Play, here on the Odyssey app. And where do you subscribe to the newsletter at?
Thekingsbeat.com.
Oh, we've got thekingsbeat.com now.
Just go to thekingsbeat.com. Yeah.
Okay, thekingsbeat.com. Go subscribe to that newsletter. It is some of, if not the very best Kings content that you will get out there. If you're on YouTube right now, make sure you check out the Kings Beat YouTube channel as well. You can see Sean Cunningham and James Ham do their show.